Hello, it's Louise and Raj here from the fellowship team here at Advance HE. We're here to explain some of the requirements of senior fellowship. That's descriptor 3 of the professional standards framework, which sometimes is abbreviated to PSF 2023. Just to warn you when we refer to PSF 2023. So Raj is here to talk about what is senior fellowship.
Thanks, Louise. So Senior Fellowship is awarded to professionals who demonstrate that they meet the requirements of Descriptor 3 of the PSF 2023. It's suitable for individuals whose comprehensive understanding and effective practice provides a basis from which they lead or influence the learning and teaching practice of others, for example, peers, colleagues, mentees, and so on.
So, is senior fellowship appropriate for you? So, as Raj says, senior fellows lead or influence the teaching practice of others in many different higher education contexts and settings. Senior fellows have responsibilities to support, guide, and initiate change, to lead, influence, enhancement of practice in a wide range of global contexts. Their contribution is effective, benefiting students through the higher education practice of others in a variety of ways. Senior fellowship is not role dependent, and there are many different contexts in which you might be leading and/or influencing the practice of others. You will need to explore whether you have sufficient evidence to meet the requirements of Descriptor 3, and Raj will talk a bit more about that.
So, to be awarded Senior Fellowship, individuals must evidence that their effective and inclusive leadership practice meets the following three descriptor criteria. D31, a sustained record of leading or influencing the practice of those who teach and or support high quality learning. D32, practice that is effective, inclusive, and integrates all dimensions. And D33, practice that extends significantly beyond direct teaching and or direct support for learning. For this recording, we are focusing on the requirements to meet Descriptor 3 for a direct application to Advance HE. That's a written account of professional practice comprising of a context statement of 300 words, a reflective narrative and 2 case studies of 6,000 words, a reference list of 500 words, and 2 supporting statements to verify and endorse practice at Descriptor 3. If you're applying for Senior Fellowship through an Advance HE accredited professional development scheme, then you'll need to follow your internal institutional guidance and application format requirements, as they may be different to Advance HE Direct, for example, Dialogic, Portfolio, and so on. I'd like to give you an example of what Descriptor 3 practice looks like. And all the examples you include in an application will demonstrate practice that goes beyond your own direct teaching with your own students. Examples of your own teaching practice with learners is not appropriate for a Senior Fellowship application. Examples may focus on leading the design or redesign and implementation of existing and or new higher education programs or professional services, showing the changes and evidence of the impact on others' higher education teaching practice and their students' learning. Such an example might form the basis for a full case study or a small example in the reflective narrative. A key aspect of such an example and all examples across and within your application is that the work will be sustained. What that means is that the examples have been conceptualized, developed, implemented, and evaluated, and that you can evidence the impact on others' higher education teaching practice and student learning through evidence-based approaches. To show the sustained nature of your leadership work, your example should typically be drawn from the last 3 to 5 years of your experience, ensuring that this includes evidence of the impact of your leadership practice. And there are many potential and diverse examples provided in the Senior Fellow Applicant Guidance and the Guide to the PSF 2023 Dimensions for Senior Fellow.
Thank you, Raj. That was really helpful to outline with an example of the requirements or some of the requirements for Descriptor 3 Senior Fellow. So what are the next steps? For direct application to Advanced HE, the next steps will be to complete the fellowship category tool if you haven't already done so. And that's a tool that's available on Advanced HE's website. You will complete a series of questions and then you will receive a downloadable report, and that's really handy as a good starting point. If Senior Fellowship is the most appropriate category for you, there are a range of resources to support you to develop an application. And again, these are available, downloadable from the Advanced HE website, including the very helpful resource that Raj mentioned, the Guide to the PSF 2023 Dimensions for Senior Fellow. It will provide you with a whole range of ideas to support development of your application, and we strongly encourage you to download the applicant pack and use those resources to support you as you go through this process. We also have a podcast series that you might find helpful to listen to, and you will hear more from us, Raj and myself and our colleague Marita, about the key requirements for Senior Fellowship. And again, that's another source of support to support you as you develop your application. We hope that this has been helpful and that you enjoy developing your application and you've learned a little bit more about the key requirements of an application for Senior Fellowship.